Welcome back. You tuned into Inspired Afternoons with me, host Maria Mia, and now it's time for our life coaching segment. And as mentioned in the intro, we embarking upon a new series, and we have psychologist as well as happiness coach Razia Suleiman, and she, yes, is a happiness coach. And as I said earlier, if you interview anybody and you just do a poll and you ask everybody what you want in life, and most would say, you know what, in terms of values, I'm looking for happiness and peace in my life, and contentment might just feature quite up there. So I was so encouraged when I came across somebody who can guide you through the journey of attaining true happiness. And then with happiness comes the other values of contentment, of peace. So today we're going to be going to introduce, and first let's welcome Razia Suleiman. She has been in HR and more in corporate for 9 years, and then she embarked on a journey of being a true self life coach. She's a mother. She's a single mother, and she has an honors degree in psychology. But as mentioned, she is in the field of life coaching and I guess supporting people through their journey of attaining true happiness. Let's hear more from the life coach and happiness coach, Razia Suleiman. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Razia, and welcome to Inspired Afternoons.
Walaikum salam, and thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours. So tell me, tell us, I see you smiling, so definitely you're a happiness coach. The smile is natural there. I have the stern face, but you know what, I guess you have to lead by example. And yes, I can see happiness all over your persona. I can feel it through vibrating here, reverberating in the studio. Your happiness is tangible. So make us smile like you and make us happy like you. So tell us a little bit about Razia Suleiman.
Okay, you mentioned that I have an honors degree in psychology. I worked in HR for a long time. And then I think about 6 years ago, my mom passed away. And that was the start of this journey for me. It was about 6 years ago. I wrote a book. And this book, as I wrote it, it was more in memory of my mother. But as I wrote it, I realized that there was so much more in it for me. And every time that I wrote a new chapter, I realized that these are not questions that I'm asking myself. These are questions that a lot of people out there are asking themselves. And then through that process, I had some people read the book and they said, okay, I have a better understanding of myself now, but what now? Where do I go from here? And that inspired the life coaching segment of my life. Because the what now left them with this empty space. Yes, I know myself, but where do I go from here? And when I went through all of the different versions of it, and I realized my mother always said, all I want is peace and happiness. And as I grew older, that's all I wanted. I wanted peace and happiness. And when I saw happiness coaching as one of the offers, I was like, that's what I want to do. There's so many people that can really do with that happiness. And then I embarked on this journey. And during doing the course, you do the exercises. And that's why you see the smile on my face, because I went through the exercises that I now offer people. But from my sessions with people, I think what came up a lot is subconscious beliefs. And I think in your introduction, you also mentioned we'd be touching on the subconscious beliefs. So yes, with my sessions with people, subconscious beliefs came up a lot. It was things that was hindering them from finding that happiness. Now, the one thing...
So I just want to stop you there. Yeah, okay. Let's stop you there. We have to be masters of our own happiness, or create paths or remove obstacles that are blocking our happiness. So I'm just thinking of it like you. I've also have a honors in psychology, but I focus on little ones. So early child development is my forte, but I do understand. And like I say, you are there. So as a coach, you are there, I think, guiding us, holding our hands, being the shoulder to cry on, to cry through, and help us navigate. So maybe if we're on the gravel road, to let us get now maybe on a freeway and a smooth way, so taking us out of that path. But like you say, we are our masters to find our own happiness within ourselves. So I
Happiness
love
within
this.
yourself.
I love the subconscious belief because I think it all stems in our subconscious. So let's
Yes.
expand now more about this subconscious belief system.
Okay. So a lot of people don't know about subconscious beliefs or what they are. And they're not supposed to because they're subconscious. And these are basically beliefs that drive our behavior without us even knowing that they are driving forces in how we behave or what we do in our lives, because they're not conscious. But they can affect our lives in very big ways. A lot of these can be cultural, they can be religion, or they can be familial, something that you learned in your family as a young person and you didn't realize that it had such a big impact on who you became. I always use this example. For me, it was time is money. My family had their own business, so we were always running because if you weren't back in the shop at a certain time, the stock wouldn't get sold. So time is money was sort of everyday saying, and it became a subconscious belief within me. And the impact that it had on my life was that I was always running. Whether I was in this corporate environment where it wasn't necessary, I was still running. Um, to the extent where relaxing seemed like I was wasting time. And it then
I
had
feel
further
this. I
like I
feel
can
like
see
this.
you nodding.
Yes, I
I
feel
can
like
see.
this because
Mm,
I can't on a weekday afternoon just sit and read the newspaper or read a book or that because I feel I'm wasting time. Reading is for in the evening because I have 2 hours in the evening or for weekends. I can't do
mm,
it because like you, I must be working all the time.
because you're
Uh,
wasting time.
because
So for me,
exactly because I feel I'm being unproductive. So it's not even wasting time for me. It's about productivity. So
yes.
if I don't do this, I'm unproductive. But also, I frown upon, especially if I see my own children sitting there with their phones and things like that during the day. It just makes my blood boil because I feel they're unproductive. There's why they're just chilling. I don't understand
Mm.
this new concept of chilling, but maybe I should. So that's why we have you here.
So my subconscious belief was time is money. Maybe you need to figure out what was yours. What was the one thing you heard a lot when you were younger that made you feel like you always have to be working? That you can't just sit still. Something, if you're not working, you're not producing something, which is also not right because sometimes when you're not working and relaxing, you are producing something. You're producing happy hormones, which you should know. When you're relaxing, so all of those, there's something that comes out of everything. But for me, my running around eventually led to high blood pressure and anxiety because I was always running and I always needed to get something done somewhere. So for me, my subconscious belief had come full circle. It had gone from being a subconscious belief to being an emotional belief to then growing into a physical illness for me. And then I started working on that. Is time really money? So once you've identified what the issue is, it becomes easier to work on it. Now I know that this is mine. Now I can work on it. I can move forward from it and I can identify that even if I take a couple of minutes off a day, I'm not going to lose anything out of not being active. Um, and I think that was my wake up call for me. How strong a subconscious belief is and the big effect that it can have on your life, unless you take the time to acknowledge and understand which beliefs you might have and where they might have come from. And I think a big part of it is also that's how you start on your path to self discovery. I'm a firm believer that knowing yourself leads to happiness. Understanding who you are leads to happiness. And like you said, happiness comes from within us. But we tend to link our happiness to external factors. Very often, our happiness doesn't come from within us. It comes from the job that we have, or the promotion that we got, or um, the increase that we got. But those are all short lived, joyous moments. It's not happiness, it's not internal joy. Um, and as part of linking our happiness to these external factors, we tend to link our identity to what we've achieved in our lives, and not to who we actually are. And that is
So
one of
how
the
how do we
biggest.
separate this? because, like you say, your achievements increases your self-esteem because you feel good
Yes.
when you've got an accolade, you've been acknowledged for something you did. And like you say, yeah, it is a joyous moment because it's fleeting, because you're only as good or valued until you're back the next back achievement or accolade, because that's how society judges you. Once you've done something,
Yes.
you receive the accolade, you need to find something else to sustain this, and you're chasing for some ideal or value. So then how do we, because happiness also linked to your self-esteem, because if you feel good about yourself, you can be happy about yourself. So it's
Mm.
closely linked. So then how do we get to the journey to feel positive about of what we are and who we are, and love ourselves, uh, and then I think it will get to that part. So I think it's a process, and it's something you have to work through.
Yes. So, unfortunately, society has taught us a certain thing. So, certain things. Society has taught us that, like you said, your achievements, your accolades, your degrees, your qualifications, your promotions, those are the things that define how successful you are or how good you are. And we link our identities to that. We don't introduce ourselves as what kind of person we are, we introduce ourselves by our career, we introduce ourselves by what we've achieved, because that's what makes us feel proud. How we separate the two is to identify the layers outside of you. So, how the paradigm of happiness coaching works is internal versus external happiness. And essentially, we are saying that external happiness is all of these things that we accumulate that make us feel happy for fleeting moments in time, and then disappear. And it's this constant cycle we're running. Now, if we take away all of those external factors and we discover who I am, so my true self, and that's also why I've called my business True Self, because once we've peeled away all the layers that have been put there by society, whether it be your subconscious beliefs, whether it be, there was something so very simple we did the other day, and it was this exercise around your wants. What do you want out of life? And when you ask someone this question, they give you this list of things. And then you take them a step back and you say, okay, are these wants, as an example, someone wanted to be self employed, because being self employed means that nobody's my boss and I can do as I please. And my question was, is there anyone in your family that is self employed? And the answer was yes. Okay. How did that person live their life? They were always capable of giving. So the idea of being your own boss and self employed led this person to believe that that's what happiness is. I want to be self employed because if I am, I would be happy because I saw this person and that person were happy when they were self employed. So when we peeled back this layer of wants and needs, her actual true person need was, I want to be kind and I want to be in a position to help others. But it initially came out as, I want to be self employed. So that's basically what I do. We peel back those layers of what you think you want to get to what you truly want, your subconscious beliefs versus your actual beliefs. And once we get to the core of you, you should then be satisfied with who you are without the achievements. Just the kind of person that you are at your core should be sufficient to drive you on every day.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little, I think, example or experiment in that. So, I mean, this is our introductory session. So I
Yes.
introduced you earlier, and I introduced you by what you achieved. I said you honors in psychology, HR 9 years ago.
Mm.
Now you are a happiness coach. So for me, I like to play the student here. So I'm trying to apply what you said. So I
Okay.
introduced you by all the accolades of your external. So tell us how you would introduce yourself, Razia Suleiman.
Okay. I would probably introduce myself as Razia Suleiman. I'm a very strong-willed individual. I try and do what is right, not only for myself, but for others. And I truly believe that every person has a right to happiness. I feel like that's one of the basic rights that people should have. And I feel like I have a purpose to help others. And that's who I am.
And mashallah, and I've got, and how look at this, how active, as you were saying that, Nazia Akuji just commented on Facebook, may Allah always keep you smiling. So, Alhamdulillah, it just worked out. And Jody Gafur says she's loving it. She says, I love it. So, yes, so I did the other introduction, the accolade one, but that's what I think a lesson for me, for myself. I need to work out how I'm going to introduce myself now in terms of my internal values and what I like in terms of how I project it on others, and see if I can divorce it from my external, because that's what you do, because that's how I introduce my guests also. I ask for bio and I get all the external accolades, which look, it's important. It's part
It's
of who you are.
important. Yes.
Yes, it's important. It's part of who you are, but I don't think it should be the primary defining of who you are. So it's important, it's there because it's part of your makeup and part of your layers, but I don't think it should define who you are. There are other intrinsic values that should define who you are. So I'm going to leave it at that today. It's been fascinating. So I think homework for everybody, including myself, because this is what I do. I take on the section, I become your student. You do this for all our Salaam Media listeners pro bono, and we're so grateful for this, that you're giving us this session in your time, especially for so many people who otherwise we might not have the funds, especially now in this difficult 2020, to access this, but in really need of this. So we thank you so much. So our homework for today is, I think everybody needs to find out how they're going to introduce themselves from an intrinsic point of view and not based on your achievements. So maybe everybody work on an introduction, and then next week, before we begin our second session, I'm going to introduce myself in terms of the intrinsic of who am I, and then let's just see if you can then assess if I manage to separate it from in terms of my career and what I do in that way there. So I'll do that homework for this week, and until next week. So looking forward to it, and I'm going to try to smile more. I'm going to think of you, and I'm going to be smiling a lot more.
That's good. Okay, Jazakallah. I never used to smile. I think my journey just brought me here. But I was like you, stern-faced.
Okay, so I'm going to smile. But my husband always says you're very serious, because we sit in a car and go somewhere and he says, but you're so serious, So I'm going to try and smile. And, smiling is contagious, because from the comments and feedback as well, everybody's loving your infectious smile. And I mean, it made me conscious to emulate Razia. So Jazakallah for this, and we'll see you next week, same time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so proud, alhamdulillah, Allah connected us, and you can share your happiness coaching with us.
Jazakallah. Wa alaikum salam.
And may you be under the mercy and protection of the Almighty until next week. Peace and blessings.
Ameen. Ameen.
That truly was happiness coach Razia Suleiman. So looking forward to the next installments, and like I say, that's what we do here. We try and provide a platform to bring the best, and this is what humanitarian journalism is all about, only on Salaam Media. Let's go for a short break, and then we're going to be speaking to 12-year-old Zanali Hazers and discussing her initiative on our hashtag kindness and compassion segment.